Hello, this is Orrin Smith with Palmetto Promise Institute, and this is a Palmetto Freedom Agenda issue overview. The issue today, the lawsuit tax, also known as the tort tax. If you travel one of our state's interstate highways, even for a few miles, you will no doubt see a billboard for the lawsuit industry. I-85, I-95, I-77, I-26, I-20 are full of ads for attorneys. Why is this? Well, it's because South Carolina laws make lawsuits a very lucrative business model. Most of the billboard law firms are compensated by receiving a percentage of the damages paid to their client by a tortfeasor. Maybe we better back up a bit. A tort is an act or omission that gives rise to injury or harm to another and amounts to a civil wrong for which courts impose liability. A tortfeasor is a person or entity that commits a tort. Put another way, a tortfeasor who committed a tort is someone who hurt somebody and can be taken to court. If you are injured, say in an auto accident, a tort has likely been committed against you, and you may be entitled to compensation from the entity that committed the tort. The sheer number of billboards are a sign that something is out of whack in South Carolina. Here's the problem. In South Carolina, if you are more than 50% at fault for a tort, say 51% of a traffic accident, you can be found liable for 100% of the damages, particularly if the person responsible for the other 49% can't pay the damage amount the jury awards. This is known as joint and several liability. In its civil justice system, South Carolina is what is known as a modified joint and several liability state. That means that in the Palmetto state, you may very well pay more than your share of the damages in a civil action. It gets worse. If the tort involves alcohol, in many cases, you could be responsible for 100% of the damages for even 1% of fault. This is one of the reasons, just one mind you, that so many bars, restaurants, and entertainment venues are closing across the state. As this chart shows, it is a complicated issue related to bars and venues. But you may be thinking, my business has never been sued, and I don't really think it ever will, if you're lucky. But have you considered the retail stores and trucking firms in South Carolina? They are among those who regularly pay out huge settlements due to joint and several liability and have to get back their insurance and legal expenses somewhere. They have no other choice but to pass those expenses along to us, the consumers. A recent study showed that tort costs amount to 2.6% of our gross domestic product in South Carolina, to the tune of $3,181 per household. We pay more for groceries, clothing, and Stanley tumblers because of the lawsuit industry and this tort tax. It's time to act. Businesses are crying out for reform, and consumers are beginning to understand this very complicated issue. Joint and several liability was modified in 2005, but it is still unfair and it needs to go. Florida, Georgia, Tennessee, and even Mississippi have acted. So can we.